In this video, I want to go over the assignments in the course. Each of these videos, we look at a different aspect of this course, and this is a very important aspect because there are a lot of assignments in this course, and because there are a lot of assignments, each assignment is not worth a huge percent of your grade. So sometimes students like this kind of setup because the assignments are not high stakes individually. But other students find this challenging because there's so many assignments to juggle. And of course, we have a summer session this time, and that means that everything comes at us very, very quickly. So it's very important that you understand how the assignments work. Now, first I want to show you a document that pretty well describes how the assignments work and what they are. So let's take a look at that. Now here's the course guide. I may be excerpting this in some of the documents that I provide for you. This is really for the instructor's information, but most of this is perfectly acceptable for students to see. There's nothing given away here, and it does tend to help you understand the course. So let's go over this. Here you have the course objectives, which are useful for you to summarize. Don't try to memorize these, but this just tells you what we think is important for you to know, and it will help you understand why the assignments are organized the way they are. And this tells you about the course structure. This week you're going to be completing a mandatory attendance quiz and the introductory discussion. When I say this week, I'm assuming you're looking at this possibly on the first day of the course. This has to be done by the end of the first week of the course. You will also want to read very carefully, certainly in the first 2 weeks, the How to Succeed in This Course module. This is extremely important because it tells you how to do the assignments. It tells you what is in the first unit, and it asks that I spend a little extra time on this first unit, and we will be doing that. But remember, this is a summer course, so even though we'll be spending almost 2 weeks on the first unit, we are spending a little extra time on the first unit, just as they recommend, and it shows you what you need to read to understand the assignments. And it's also available under course content right here. But as you can see here, the course contains 2 essay assignments, 4 informal reflection writing exercises, a timeline assignment, an editorial assignment, and a variety of discussions requiring students to engage in role-playing as a Reconstruction-era advocate, a railroad magnate, or Native American representative, or a politician in the 1920s. The last 2 units include a discussion on the dropping of the atomic bomb and an annotation of a protest song. First of all, the reflection exercises are probably the least intensive and involve the least amount of work. So yes, there are 4 such exercises, but they are not difficult, nor do they take a lot of time. So you could look at those as easier exercises. You're supposed to process your reactions, thoughts, and feelings to the content provided, and each one has a description of what you're supposed to do. These reflections are not formal academic writing and are graded on an all-or-nothing basis. And collectively, they make up only 5% of the total grade for the course. So even if you do badly on one of them, it's barely going to affect your grade point average. It doesn't require a lot of writing. It doesn't require a lot of time. But of course, you want to know what is expected of you because you want to do as well as possible. But what I'm saying is that when you look at these 4 assignments and you say, well, aside from these 4 assignments, how many assignments do I have? It does reduce the number of assignments that you're really going to be spending a lot of time on. Now, there are individualized rubrics for each discussion assignment. Not every assignment has a rubric, but most of them do. And so you'll want to familiarize yourself with the rubrics eventually, certainly when you come to an assignment, by going up to assessments and then clicking on Rubrics, and you can find all the rubrics there. Now let's look at the final project for this course. Now to do this, you go to the discussions, click on discussions, that's one way to do it, and you see that one of the assignments for the very first week of the course is an introductions assignment. In this introduction assignment, you are going to introduce yourself to your fellow students and tell them something about yourself. So each introduction will, of course, be different. But you're also going to read through the final project assignment in How to Succeed in this course. Now, I asked you to look at this entire module, How to Succeed in this course, in the first 2 weeks. But in the very first week, you're obviously going to have to look at this final project instruction because this is necessary for you to complete your introduction, which is due on Friday, May 28th. So if you click on that link to the final project, you'll see a description of what you have to do. Now, this is really kind of neat because you're going to be asked in the first week not to tell me what your precise topic will be or what your precise question that you're going to answer will be, and you will choose the question eventually, but only to tell me what modality you think that your final presentation is going to take. And the modality can be either a researched essay of 1,000 words, which you can find more about by clicking on this link, a narrated presentation or video, and you can think of this as a curated online museum exhibit photo essay. If it's a narrated presentation, it still has to be an audio, but it could be a video as well as an audio. And you're going to be talking about photographs. If your topic is relevant to that kind of presentation, and there's some examples here if you want to go that route. You could do a 10 to 15 minute podcast radio show where you would interview a person and let them tell you an interesting story about their experience in a topic in recent American history. After all, we're going to go up to the present in this course. So you can talk to somebody who has experience with American history going back to World War II, I suppose. And you can ask them a question. You don't interview them until after you've chosen your question, and we'll talk more about how you do that. But that's an option for you, a 10 to 15 minute recorded interview or podcast. Same thing. History through the lens of music. You create a playlist or album of at least 10 songs for your topic. Once you select your topic, you can start work on that, and you curate it. In other words, you narrate it and explain it by briefly explaining how each song speaks to your chosen theme and thesis. You can either do this via slides with embedded videos, or you can record separate audio files, narrating your commentary before each song. Now, you're not going to upload the recorded song because that's a violation of copyright if you do that. You're simply going to name the song, but in your recording, you talk about it. And then it says, see Unit 7 discussion for ideas on how to use music as a source. And then you can also use another medium of your choice. But the question has to be related to one of these 4 overarching themes. This is not the question you're going to try to answer. This is the topic that is the umbrella for your question. Now, where do you get the question? Well, you get the question from your learning in this course as you go along. You may not be able to choose your topic precisely until the midpoint of this course. Now, where do you get the questions that you're going to look at? That is the minute questions, the specific questions that lie under this heading. First of all, you need to pick an overarching theme that you want your question to be related to. Always pick the one you're most interested in. Let's suppose you've picked the one on culture. How has culture unified or divided Americans? Well, if you go up to content, you will notice that under each of the units in this course, such as Reconstruction, let's pick that. If you click on that and you go up to the top of the page, actually not quite the top of the page, you'll see that there are guided reading questions for the era of Reconstruction. This is something that every unit has, guided reading questions for that unit. If you open that up, you see specific questions for Reconstruction. Now, you still don't want these questions, any of them, to be your specific question for your presentation. But if you did want to do a presentation on a Reconstruction-related topic, you could take one of these questions and narrow it so that it would become a good question to explore in your presentation. For example, you might want to clarify this one and say, the newly freed slaves helped Reconstruction achieve some success. That's narrowing the question down, but it allows you to answer the question with sources of your own. Or you could say that the freed slaves presented an obstacle to success in Reconstruction, and then you answer that question. At least you could have 12 variations on these and make it so that it would be appropriate to your presentation. I'll help you with this. Please don't get overwhelmed with this information. It's designed to help you understand what you need to understand at this moment in the course, which is not very much at this moment. You're just getting your foot wet in the course, and I will approve your topic before you start work on it, which, remember, is only 10% of your grade. Next, we'll talk about another aspect of this course that you need to know at the outset of the course.